The invasion of Outland, 26 years after the Dark Portal. Kil'jaeden had anticipated the Bloodhelms joining the Horde, but he welcomed it. Word of the Legion's presence on Outland and Illidan Stormrage's conquest of that realm had spread throughout the most powerful nations on Azeroth. Leaders convened to discuss what to do, but they remained hesitant to act. The Dark Portal was closed. Outland was a distant threat. That was about to change. On Outland, Kil'jaeden ordered High Lord Cruel and his forces to gather at the Dark Portal. He gave the same command to his forces on Azeroth. Many demons had been trapped on the world following the Third War. The most powerful among them was the Doom Lord Kazak. As the Legion's factor ruler on Azeroth, he rounded up what demons he could find and brought them to the site of the Dark Portal in the Blasted Lands. Kil'jaeden then guided his followers in a great ritual to reopen the rift. Though the Dark Portal had been closed, reality was permanently warped by its former presence. The Legion's spellwork tore through this weakness, and the bridge between worlds flared to life again. Kazak stormed into Outland and took control of the Legion army. He was a more seasoned commander than High Lord Cruel, and he inspired greater fear and respect in his followers. Kil'jaeden had another purpose for Cruel. The High Lord would be the spark that set Azeroth and Outland alight with war. Cruel gathered a small invasion force and marched through the Dark Portal. He struck at Stormwind City, Orgrimmar, and other locations throughout the world. His purpose was not to conquer, but to stir the Horde and the Alliance into a frenzy. In that, he succeeded. The Horde's and the Alliance's response was immediate. Their armies mobilized and made war on the demons. Cruel and his followers feigned retreat, gathering in the Eastern Kingdoms and luring their enemies to the Dark Portal. The High Lord always intended for the Horde and the Alliance to reach Outland, but he made them work for it. His demons bled their foes every step of the way. The fiercest fighting erupted outside the Dark Portal, and the Horde and the Alliance paid dearly to push the demons through the gateway. The defenders of Azeroth could no longer ignore the threat posed on Outland. The Dark Portal had been restored. If they closed it, the Legion might simply open it again. There was but one choice to make. The Horde and the Alliance launched their armies into Outland. For most of these soldiers, it was the first time they had seen the broken world. Many orcs had been there before, but even they were shocked by what they witnessed. Cruel, Kazak, and a massive Legion army greeted them on the other side of the Dark Portal. And this time, the demons would not retreat. The Legion and Azeroth's defenders waged a brutal war for supremacy in the Dark Portal's shadow. The Horde and the Alliance slowly pushed into Hellfire Peninsula. Casualties mounted on both sides. Not even Cruel or Kazak was spared the fury of battle. They had expected Kil'jaeden to send reinforcements to help the demons hold back the heroes of Azeroth. Yet, that had never been Kil'jaeden's intention. The Demon Lord sacrificed Cruel and Kazak to embolden the Horde and the Alliance. He needed them to carve out a foothold on Outland and turn their wrath on Illidan as soon as possible. Bogging them down in a prolonged war with the Legion did not serve Kil'jaeden's purpose. It might have caused them to retreat to Azeroth. As the Horde and the Alliance pushed inland, they established strongholds in Hellfire Peninsula. The Alliance soldiers were shocked to discover Honor Hold and its inhabitants. The Sons of Lothar had not perished as had once been thought. The commander of Honor Hold, the revered human warrior Danath Trollbane, welcomed the Alliance with open arms. The Horde had no pre-existing fortress to call their own. They had built a new settlement, Thrallmar, in the north of Hellfire Peninsula. Soon, the Horde found allies to join their cause, the Mag'har orcs. The Mag'har were few, but they proved to be fierce fighters. They had never succumbed to the demonic blood curse that had twisted most other orcs, turning their skin from brown to green and transforming them into war-crazed soldiers. Ever since the destruction of Draenor, small communities of Mag'har had clung to survival on Outland, honing their shamanic traditions and carrying on the old ways of their people. They saw the new Horde for what it was, a return to the pride and honor of the Orcs' former society. From Honorhold and Thrallmar, the Alliance and the Horde continued their offensive against the Legion. They broke the demons' strength and pushed them to the outskirts of Hellfire Peninsula. The champions of Azeroth then turned their attention to Outland's self-proclaimed lord, Illidan Stormrage. By now, both factions had heard disturbing rumors about the betrayer. Stories of the Naga warping the land in Zangarmarsh, of the Blood Elves seizing Tempest Keep and leeching magic from the Netherstorm. And there were other tales. Ones that spoke of Illidan training an army of elves infused with demonic power. The Alliance and the Horde were unaware of Illidan's true goal to destroy the Legion, and he made no attempts to tell them. He was almost ready to launch his attack on Argus. He knew that if he tried to explain his methods to the people of Azeroth, they would not understand. Thus, he focused all his attention on the demon hunters and their mission. The assault on the Dark Portal. The Horde and the Alliance were not the only ones who fought the Legion at the Dark Portal. Secretly, Illidan Stormrage and his demon hunters had also joined the fray. They had spotted High Lord Cruel leading a small force to outflank Azeroth's defenders. Illidan and his followers struck before that came to pass. They carved through the demon's ranks until they had defeated Cruel himself. The demon hunters did not linger in the area. Illidan was wary of making his presence known to the Alliance and the Horde. He believed they would see him and his fell-wielding followers as nothing more than agents of the Legion. After the battle, Illidan left the Dark Portal and continued preparing for strikes against the Legion on other worlds. Ghosts of Draenor. After crushing the Legion's hold on Hellfire Peninsula, the Horde launched an offensive against Illidan Stormrage's fellow orcs at Hellfire Citadel. For many members of the Horde, the assault was personal. The ferocious, red-skinned orcs were a reminder of the demonic corruption that had plagued the old Horde. Using the Pit Lord Magtheridon's blood, Illidan had forged an army of brutal soldiers. The infamous chieftain of the Shattered Hand Orc clan, Kargath Bladefist, lorded over Hellfire Citadel. He and his fellow orcs were beyond saving. They showed no mercy to the Horde, and they were offered none in return. Horde forces defeated Kargath and marched into the heart of Hellfire Citadel. They did not rest until they cut down Magtheridon in the belly of the fortress. Though Magtheridon would never again taint the Orcs' race, there was little celebration. The Horde's triumph had been grim work, and few soldiers rejoiced in spilling the blood of fellow Orcs. Yet, the Horde's time on Outland had brought hope and redemption, especially for Thrall. Born on Azeroth, he had never been to his race's ancestral home. Little was left of old Draenor, but there was a place largely untouched by the calamity that had befell the world. Thrall and many other members of the Horde eventually ventured into Nagrand, a region steeped in ancient Orcish culture. The largest community of Mag'har called it home. They dwelled in Garadar, a village named after Thrall's late grandfather and watched over by his grandmother, Gaia. Meeting her changed the war chief's life. His parents had died when he was only an infant, and Gaia was the closest connection he had to them. She taught him much about his parents, his people, and himself. But Thrall had also something to teach. Garadar's leader was Garrosh Hellscream, son of the legendary warrior Grommash Hellscream. Garrosh did not know of his father's deeds on Azeroth. He believed that Grommash was a monster, one of the orcs who had led his people into the clutches of demons. Thrall was quick to tell him that his father was a hero. He recounted how Grommash had sacrificed himself to defeat Manaroth, how he had lifted the blood curse that had afflicted the orcs. The truth filled Garrosh with confidence. Thrall saw much potential in Garrosh. He was brash and quick to anger, but Thrall believed Garrosh's fierce pride and knowledge of Orcish culture would serve the Horde well. The war chief convinced a Mag'har orc to act as his advisor back on Azeroth. Rexxar and the Mok'Nathal. Rexxar accompanied the Horde to Outland, seeking to reconnect with his fellow Mok'Nathal. It had been many years since he had seen his people. Rexxar found them north of Hellfire Peninsula, among the jagged peaks of the Blade's Edge Mountains. An aging warrior led the Mok'Nathal. His name was Lorox, and he was Rexxar's father. Years ago, a rift had formed between father and son. Lorox was opposed to Horde of old, and he had been against Rexxar's decision to join it. A fierce argument had engulfed the two Mok'Nathal, and they had parted ways with anger in their hearts. Time had not yet healed these wounds. Rexxar could not face his father, but he did everything in his power to help the Mok'Nathal fend off their enemies in the Blade's Edge Mountains.